So I'm a pretty handy guy. I can work in houses. A lot of the things that my guys do are all because of things I've done. And I train them not to do what I've done. And one of the best things I can do is I can take a 2-minute project and make it 6 trips to Home Depot, 7 trips up and down the stairs, 25 trips out to my truck to look for the tool that I thought was out there, but it's really over there. And 6 hours later, I have that outlet switched out. So yes. So I teach my guys, always have the tools, be prepared for the job. And you go into a big box store, you go in with a list. You do not go without a list of what you need, because invariably you will forget the one thing. Like in my case, I forgot PVC glue and I was doing a bunch of plumbing. And I went all the way back to my house, got everything dry fitted, ready to go, put my waste piping in, go to set everything together. I got my primer, get my primer out, and I got everything going. And I looked down, and I didn't buy the glue, and I had to get back in my truck, drive all the way back to the glue. So even the handyman screws it up. Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent up that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse to the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from achieving your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Hey, adventure team, I'm excited today to have the founder of Granite Garage Floors come in today, a good friend of mine, Al Mishkoff. In 2010, after a successful career in corporate America, Alan decided to reinvent himself as an entrepreneur. With his experience in the home improvement industry, he launched the Granite Garage Floor concept. The company is focused on upgrading residential garage floors with a coating system that looks and lasts like granite. Since the garage is often the primary entry point into the home, he believed homeowners would want a designer quality finish on their garage floor. If they were only aware that an option existed beyond the traditionally dusty oil-stained concrete or peeling gray paint of garage floors. Understanding that frustration, he went along, figured out and developed an unheralded customer experience that includes professional communication, timely installation, and backed by his lifetime satisfaction warranty. It's a great product. I can promise you that. I've seen it myself, and it's amazing. He has actually scaled the business now and has started to franchise the concept since 2014. And today he's grown it to 16 locations throughout the country, as far-reaching as Phoenix, North Carolina, Virginia, and Kansas City. He attributes his success of the company's growth to the support from his wife and business partner, Kelly, and their 2 daughters. His organization of sales and installation teams, as well as its franchise owners. Alan believes that in order to have a great business, you need to have a quality product, surround yourself with talented people, and operate with the highest level of integrity. And with that, adventure team, let's go hear what Alan has to say. Alan, cheers.
Cheers. How you doing?
Great. And I'm excited about today's guest because you know why?
Why?
He has the same name you have.
He does?
Oh my God, I got too many Allens in my life. I want to welcome everybody. This is Alan Mishkoff, one of my good buddies. He's my golfing buddy. He's my drinking buddy. But more importantly, he's my entrepreneurial buddy. He has created a successful business that we talked about earlier of Granite Garage Floors. He covers your garage floor with granite.
Oh my gosh, that must be really expensive.
Is it really expensive? I don't know. Let's ask him. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me there, Chris and Alan. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. It's actually not real granite, but it's a coating system that we say it looks and lasts like granite because they're durable, they're chemical resistant, they're easy to clean, and most importantly, we guarantee that they don't peel up from hot tires.
I will say it actually performs like granite because what Alan Mishkoff, I'm going to have to go by one name or another. What Mishkoff doesn't know is that I've taken his clubs and tried them on his garage floor. He just doesn't know it yet, but they never chipped. So good news is clubs are a little scuffed up, but that garage floor looks awesome.
It doesn't say anything in his website about vindictive golf buddy damage. It's just hot tire marks.
Exactly.
All right. So who, I got to get this out. Who's the better golfer? Who takes money off of who?
I would say we're probably about the same. Sometimes, you know how golf is. It's streaky.
He's sandbagging because he just wants more strokes off the next time. I know that's coming. So no, he can beat me. Al, I want everybody to hear your story. But I set it up before. You were at Black and Decker, very successful career. You were making all the money. You had that big house in the North Fulton area, kids going to private school, things going great. And you said, screw it, I want to go out and start my own business. Why the hell did you make that decision?
Well, I think, I've been at this now for almost 10 years, and I was kind of at an inflection point. I was working for Black & Decker, DeWalt company, for really right out of college for almost 24 years. And we had gotten sold to the Stanley Works. A lot of things were changing. Management was shifting. Was no longer feeling passionate about corporate America, and really decided that it was time to take a leap and do something different. And because of the fact that I had been around a while, I had a little bit of time on my hands. I had saved a little bit of money, and was starting to explore different opportunities. Coincidentally, around the same time frame, probably within a year or two prior to this happening, my brother-in-law, who really got me into I call it this mess. He had worked for a company called Rust-Oleum, who was installing what we call professionally installed epoxy floors, marketed and sold through the Home Depot, and they did that for many years very successfully as kind of a installed service through Home Depot stores. But after when the real estate market started to crash in mid 2000s, they exited that business. I helped him get started with a small company in Florida, and when I was considering leaving, I kept looking at this business saying, hey, I think if it was scaled and marketed it correctly, it could be a viable opportunity. So when I initially left Black & Decker, I actually was looking for another full-time job in the W-2 world, interviewing with different companies, but I kept going back to, hey, how can I make this garage floor business work? And I found myself spending all my excess time diving into market share data, trying to better understand the market, and saying to myself, hey, how many garage floors do I need to do on a weekly basis to not have to go back to corporate America to support my family?
So you didn't look at any other opportunities, you didn't think about any other small businesses, didn't engage a franchise broker. It was either I'll go stay in the corporate zoo and be the gorilla spinning the tire, or I'm going to do this.
Pretty much. I mean, I never actually engaged with a franchise broker at all. There was a small other company that a friend had that I had worked with for about 2 or 3 months concurrently while I was developing this business plan and looking at other W-2s. But the more I dove into this category, the more I got excited about it. And I said, hey, you know what? I think if the business was scaled properly, marketed properly, operated correctly, differently than the way Rust-Oleum was doing it through the Home Depot stores throughout the country, I said, I think we could create a market. And funny story is, and this is God's honest truth, I would walk my dog in my neighborhood, which is in North Fulton here in Alpharetta. And, the economy wasn't doing great. And the real estate market definitely wasn't doing great, as you guys recall, back in late 2000s. But all I saw was, and I always tell these people, I'd be walking my dog in my neighborhood, and all I saw were white vans in front of houses doing work. Non-logoed white vans. People were getting things done, even though, economically speaking, things across the country weren't doing great. And I was kind of realizing and said, hey, people that have decent jobs, that make a decent living, and not that we live in a super fancy house or anything like that, still have discretionary money, and they get things done to their homes. They're constantly focusing on home improvement. And that kind of was a light bulb moment for me, saying, hey, if people are going to spend $75,000 to get their kitchen done, or $50,000 to do a bathroom, or they're laying down pine straw landscaping projects. I mean, heck, a normal house in Georgia, a lot of houses in Georgia, it could cost you $700 or $1,000 just to have pine straw put down all around your house, and that could look like hell in Georgia. So my thinking was, hey, if people are spending money on a lot of home improvement projects, I believe that there's a better solution for the garage floor, which is the primary entry point into the home. And people would pay a premium to have it done professionally and to look great, and most importantly, not peel up from hot tires.
So, Al, you are a true entrepreneur. You've got huge balls. I already know that already, because if I get this right, during the Great Recession, you decided to go out and start a business on your own that directly competed with Rust-Oleum and Home Depot. Did I hear that correctly?
Not necessarily, because I mean, there's two different things here. I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but the Rust-Oleum product that is being sold in the kits at the home improvement stores and paint stores, that's a great business. That business still exists, and if it wasn't for them doing that, half the people that tried that themselves wouldn't be calling professionals like my company and others to have it installed. They had a secondary business that they were trying to operate, which was a installed service of professionally installed floors, similar to the way we do it. And they were trying to make that work, but they really couldn't make it really go and make it profitable. So they basically decided to eliminate that installed service that was part of their their business model. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What was it that you thought you could bring different to the marketplace, being a David versus a Goliath, though?
Well, I thought number one is that I'm a marketing guy, and they were trying to market professionally installed floors, okay, through people that are going into a home improvement store, such as Home Depot. So people that go into home improvement stores, generally speaking, okay, are trying to fix it themselves, or maybe they're going with a local contractor to pick up some supplies. My thought process was that, hey, if people that want to spend $3,000 to get a garage floor done, that person probably is not going into Home Depot looking for a solution for their garage floor to spend $3,000. That person typically is in a different demographic, probably, on the golf course, on their boats, on the weekend, going to their lake houses, doing other type of things. They're not going to use that as the point of reference. So my thought process was, hey, we're going to market differently to the high-end residential customer and make them aware that a better solution exists for a garage floor versus what you typically could get in a kit at a home improvement store or paint store.
So you leave the corporate world and you start this business, and I don't know how long it was from when you left to when you actually launched, but when did you have that, oh my God, what have I done moment?
Oh, I'm still having that.
Nice. Still having it 10 years later.
Most entrepreneurs continue to have those moments, but I would say probably, the first 6 months or so. I mean, when you're jumping off the cliff and you're trying to figure out how to make it work, make the phone ring, keep your bills paid, keep your employees employed. You have to have a lot of, and everyone wants to tell you what you're doing wrong and what you should do differently. Chris, you probably have heard that a million times. Any entrepreneur that meets with anyone, particularly when you're talking about simplified businesses like ours, which are home services, everybody is an expert. But
Yeah.
it takes a while before you go, okay, I think I have something here. The business is scaling. People are recognizing the brand. They're calling the phone number. They're seeing the marketing messages. They like the quality. They like the service. They're leaving reviews online. They're telling their friends, and all of a sudden, it starts cascading.
Yeah, you actually hit on a couple points, Al, that I think are big. When you get into business, you're not a small business owner until you have to scramble your ass off on a Thursday night to make payroll on Friday.
Right.
And I know you've had to do that. And you look back, you probably still know that date, that time, and exactly which branch you went to put that stupid check in to make sure everybody got payroll the next morning.
Absolutely.
So I love that. And I also love it when you start telling other people what you do, they start to tell you, especially as a handyman. Oh, as a handyman, we all need a handyman. Let me get your card. Well, let me tell you how you need to run your business better. Oh, please enlighten me on how I can be a better customer service provider, because I'm sure you got this shit nailed.
Well, it's a really big challenge for an entrepreneur, because you always hear those stories of an entrepreneur that stays true to their vision. But at the same time, you need advice. You need to hear what other people are saying. And how do you decide who's giving you good advice? And how do you weed that out from all the noise?
Exactly right. Because I mean, as small business owners, we all have the blind spots.
Right.
So you're sitting there, but when you're getting, having a cocktail with somebody, or you're talking to somebody, and they're telling you how you can run your business better, what makes you more qualified? But then you're doing the same thing as when you go home, of course, with the insecurities that we all have at 3 o'clock in the morning, as I curl up on the couch yet again,
Sucking your
and
thumb.
think about what I've just done to myself and my family. And maybe that guy's right, or maybe that lady's right. Maybe I should be doing it differently. But Al, you jump off, you do this, you get started in 2010. When did you start making money? And when we talk about that, is that break even? You projected a break even point at probably, well, if you're like me, because I was smarter than the average
90
kid,
days.
I was done in 12. I gave myself some time. I was realistic. 16 months. Started right in the middle of the freaking recession. 24 months later, I'm breaking even. So when did you have your break even plan, and when did you start to break even and start making money?
And I will tell you, I mean, it's a good question. It was probably, I left a corporate America job. I mean, I was doing well. I mean, it took years and years before I started actually taking real money out of the company. For the first several years, I mean, most entrepreneurs, I mean, you have cash coming in and then you got cash going out, and you constantly are reinvesting back into the business, whether it was equipment, vehicles. Marketing, people don't realize, is probably the number one thing that you have to invest in. And I remember I had a lot in the beginning. I had a lot of time on my hands because the phone wasn't ringing. I was at the gym on the treadmill when I used to go to the gym, and talking to a couple other guys that were working out. And one of the guys, I remember him saying, "Hey man, you really ought to take an ad out in XYZ magazine." He goes, "That should make the phone ring." And I was like, that's probably a pretty good idea. And so I started having conversations with these advertising companies that are selling, whether it's the Home Mag or City Publications or RSVP or one of the different ones. And you start realizing that, wow, that one ad's going to cost you $1,500 or $2,500 or $3,000 just for that one ad. And, that was like a mortgage payment back then. So it definitely is an aha moment. And, I always tell people your relationship with money changes a lot once you become an entrepreneur.
What do you mean by that? Expand on that one for me for a minute. Your relationship with money, because I love that line.
I think because you spend so much money on so many things to make problems go away, to solve problems, to keep the wheels going, you as an entrepreneur, when you have challenges that are hitting you, a truck goes down, a piece of equipment goes down, you need to buy more inventory for a job, you got to pay more people. I mean, you all of a sudden you're spending money at a clip that you never spent money at before. When you're spending money on dropping money on ads for $2,000 or $3,000 or participating in a marketing event that might cost you $3,000. I mean, you're spending money like crazy. Your relationship with money changes a lot because, and obviously there's tax advantages being your own boss and a business owner, because you can spend money on the business and a lot of that money is not getting taxed, so there's an advantage to that, but it's still real money that you're spending. It's always funny when all your friends that are in W-2, they go, "Oh, you can just write that off."
Right.
Saying, "Just pick that up, just write it off." I'm like, "Write it off? What do you mean? I still got to earn the money."
Right.
Might have to pay some taxes on that, but I still gotta, it's still my own money that, the company's money that we're.
Can't take write-offs to the bank.
Yeah, you can't take write-offs to the bank. Exactly. I still got to have cash money to pay for this damn thing, bro. Al, you hit on some things. I think some of the things you've done marketing wise have been really good. And so when we think about your product and how you position it, a garage floor epoxy coating, let's face it, is a luxury item. It's not a must-have. This is not my hot water heater's out. This is not my HVAC's not working here in the South. it's a luxury item. How did you go after identifying who your market was, and then which marketing vehicles did you find really got to them better?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think initially it's, I am my own customer. I always looked at this and said, hey, I was kind of a home improvement enthusiast anyway. I am my own customer. So I know what how my customer, for the most part, thinks, what they're looking for. So when we started really pressing the advertising, the gas pedal, it was like, okay, how do I make more people aware that a better solution exists than what they're currently accustomed to? And a lot of that had to do with some marketing taglines that we created. One of them was, and we still use it to this day, we actually trademarked it along with our brand, is does your garage floor need a makeover? And we would show a picture of a stained garage floor, a peeling garage floor, embedded on top of a beautiful looking garage floor with a nice car on it. And that inspires people to say, oh, I didn't even know that a better solution existed. Most people, when they think of their garage floor, they think of a concrete floor that maybe was never sealed. It emits a lot of dirt and dust. It's dingy. The garage is dingy and cold. Or a lot of people want to have a nice garage floor, and they were aspirational, and all they knew was the opportunities that existed through their local painter. Where the local painter was painting the house, and he said, hey, for another $1,000 I can do your garage floor. And they would get the kits at the home improvement or paint store, and if you were lucky, they would pressure wash it or acid wash it, and then they put down a coat of it, and you would hope that they mixed it correctly so it dried. And if it did, then people would say, I waited 2 weeks before I even drove on it. The first day I drove on it, I backed my car up, and right where the tire marks are, the paint peeled off. And a lot of times that happens because the preparation wasn't done correctly on the front end. The material used is not industrial in nature. And the people that are installing it, this isn't what they do. So our philosophy was, hey, let's be really focused and really good at delivering a product, an experience to the customer that will exceed their expectations. They're going to pay more for it, but we really believe in that there's a market here because, like I said earlier, the garage is the primary entry point of the house for many people. They come into the garage, the kids come home, they open up the door through the keypad, and they come on in. A lot of friends that are coming over. If you have a side garage, like in Atlanta, we have a lot of 2-car and 3-car side garage doors. That, most people pull off the side. They don't come through the front door. They come through the garage. So people want to invest in the garage and make it a nice space. And we look at it as an extension of the home, not the garage.
So Al, when you first started this, was franchising the concept on your mind, or at what point did you go, you know what, I think I can take this nationally and globally?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was obviously mostly focused on Atlanta. Interesting, the first 6 months, I actually opened up a company called Atlanta Garage Floors. And then I had this vision to create a branded product because I worked at Black & Decker DeWalt for a long time, and we were a big sales and marketing company, and started kicking around some different ideas. One of the finishes that Rust-Oleum had was what they called their granite tan finish. And granite was super hot at that time, and granite had, when you think about granite, what do you think about? Durability, good looks, a kind of a must-have finish. Everybody at that point in time was, wanted to have granite countertops in their garages. So after about 6 months into me starting the coating company, I created this Granite Garage Floor brand with the notion that, it would be bigger than just Atlanta. We could scale this thing into other markets if the dogs ate the dog food per se. And I was approached by 3 different guys that I had worked with at Black & Decker that were surprised that I wasn't going back to a traditional W-2 job. And they were also interested in leaving corporate America and doing something differently. So I started looking at, hey, what would be the best way to scale, and started having conversations with different mentors in the community, talking to different attorneys and what have you. Should I do a licensing deal? Should I do a franchising deal? And I kind of settled on franchising would be probably the best route for
Al, how long into it before you decided to do the franchising?
We started the process. We launched Granite Garage Floors in 2012. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary of the brand this January. And then we launched the franchise in 2014. And by the way, I talked to a lot of people.
You just barely got profitable in 2 years.
How about that? So you went
So
in
you franchised.
2010, you started yours, right? In 2012, you created the Granite Garage Floor brand after Atlanta Garage Floors. And then 2 years after that, you started. So 4 years after you started your business?
No, probably your timeline's a little off. I started in 2010, and then in 2011 actually I take that back. In 2011 we started in the back half of that year putting floors down, rebranded Granite Garage Floors in 2012, and in 2014, 2 years. So about 2.5 years after I started. By the way, everybody that I talked to told me, you can't do it. It's the wrong time. You're not proven yet, or what have you, which I really wasn't, because I only had, really 2 years worth of data underneath my belt at the time.
Yeah, usually when you take a concept of franchise, you have to have multiple locations with a proven track record. How did you manage to pull this off without that?
That's a good question. I mean, I worked with a great franchise attorney locally, and we put together a simple franchise agreement. Obviously there were 3 guys that came in initially that were long-term friends and believed in the model, and I was sharing them the results that we had and all the KPIs of how you can make the phone ring, how many leads turned into estimates, how many estimates turned into jobs, and we kind of ventured off on this thing together, and had success along the way. So I mean, definitely was not conventional, but and then we've continued to grow every year. We've added a couple of units, mostly through connections and a little bit of advertising and marketing.
So in 2014, you did this. A lot of people out there probably think they have an idea they can franchise to, right? We all do. Hell, I'm sitting on one. I mean, I get the Trusted Toolbox. I should have this sucker all across the nation. Screw that, globally, baby.
Absolutely.
I should be in Antarctica.
See
that
you,
good.
Trusted Toolbox of Venezuela.
I think so. I think that's a good place to go. So, but the reason I didn't was because, Al, how much did it take, money and time, for you to develop your simple franchise agreements, your UFOC, all the stuff you had to do? If I'm a guy thinking about going to franchise my business, how much should I set aside to budget to do this?
It really depends on, depends on how you do it. Okay. Ours, the way we did it was not crazy expensive. At the time, I think I spent 25 or 30 grand initially. And then I had an agreement with my franchise attorney that the first handful that I sold, I would give him some additional funds to help offset the initial cost. But there are some franchise groups that to franchise, they want $250,000. So it all depends on what type of franchise attorney you connect with. Obviously, our FDD that we developed in 2014, compared to where we are today is a lot. Our one today is a lot stronger and better than it was in 2014 when we started. So
it just shows you how much I know about franchising, because you guys both corrected me. Yes, UFOC was a long time ago. Now it's FDD.
Come on,
and you can
Chris,
tell that
get
I'm
up with
still
the
not
time.
doing this shit. So I would say what I just heard was 50 on the low end, 250 on the high end. That's thousands of dollars. So if you think you got a great idea, you better convince the person you're trying to bring money home for that that's money you can use.
But it's still, I'm assuming, Al, the reason you go the franchising route versus just expanding on your own is you're leveraging other people's money to expand. Is that correct?
Yeah, obviously, I think people that want to get into franchising want to buy into a proven business model. And let's face it, when you have a franchisee that's their business and they're operating it like their business under the guidelines that the franchisor develops and the model that the franchisor develops. If you wanted to expand in other markets on your own, obviously it's much more expensive to do that because you have to hire general managers for those locations. And at the end of the day, finding that right person in every city to be the brand and to represent the brand the way you want it to be represented is a difficult task. There's no doubt about it. And when you're franchising your company, you can actually select, and they actually call it awarding a territory, meaning that you do not have to offer somebody a franchise just because they want to buy it. If you don't believe that that person is going to be the right fit for your organization, for your culture.
Still hard to do though, right? Still hard to do because in the beginning, you just want that almighty dollar. So quick question for everybody. The first 3 buddies that came in with you, are they still doing it?
2 of the 3 are.
Gotcha. All right. So now my follow-up question is, when you look to award that franchise, which is a beautiful way to say that, you're picking somebody, what traits are you looking for in that human being that somebody you're going to have to partner up with? They're going to have to give you some money. They're going to feel like they gave you money. Sometimes they're going to feel like they bought a job. They feel like they got to give you all this money. You got to give back to them. And on the other side, you're like, yeah, but I want to make sure you're the right fit for me. What do you look for?
And I think that's a good question. I think that changes depending upon the industry and the franchise that somebody's buying. Okay, so for us specifically, I'm looking for people that number one have solid business management skills. Okay, they understand how to run a business. They're good from a sales and marketing perspective, meaning that they have and that they've got really solid business acumen, meaning that look, you can deal with high-end clients and customers, but you can also deal with everybody up and down the food chain. You've got to have the people that are actually doing the work, and you have to understand the relationship and how important that relationship is for the people that are actually doing the work. And that person's a lot different than maybe the corporate CEO type that you're trying to sell a garage floor to. So there's a wide variety of people that you have to deal with in any business, and being able to maintain relationships and goodwill across them. And it's not for everybody.
Al, are you doing your own development, or have you outsourced that?
For the most part, we've grown organically. We recently hired a franchise development individual in the last 6 months to help those efforts on our behalf, and we continue to look to grow and expand. Franchising is a really difficult business. They say for every 100 leads that come in, you'll probably close 1. So you think about that close ratio.
That's worse than direct mail.
Yeah, well, direct mail is way better than that. I can tell you that.
So Al, today, as you run your business, you have 16 units, franchise developments going on, but you said you have somebody doing that. You actually have your Atlanta territory, which you still manage yourself. Where do you split your day up? What is if there are 5 days in the week, how many days go to franchising? How many days go to running Atlanta?
Well, first of all, any business owner, there's not 5 days in the week. There's actually 8.
And there's your gold nugget right there.
That is
Every business owner. Yeah. Every business owner in there believes that, because I got a buddy who says, if there's a 5-pound bag, Chris, you always find a way to put 10 pounds of shit in there. I'm like, because as a small business owner, there's not just 5 days in the week, baby. There's not just 24 hours in the day. I think there's always 26. Love it. Good one.
No doubt about it. I think it varies from week to week. It all depends. It's balanced out. I mean, I spend a lot of time on our local headquarter operations because that kind of sets the tone for our franchisees, and we're constantly trying new things, different things, trying to be the guinea pig out there and investing in strategies. But then, like last week, we've got a new location getting ready to start up in Arizona. And, I spent the entire week with that individual and his team, making sure that they're trained up properly. So when they launch, they can hit the ground running. So it varies. I mean, constantly taking phone calls between local employees. We have a handful of sales folks and installers here locally, and then obviously, interfacing with our franchise owners on a pretty frequent basis.
What are the main challenges to your business?
Well, there's a lot of them. I would say, one of the downsides of, I'd say our business versus maybe like Chris's business in the trusted toolbox is the fact that the quality of our product is so good. We're kind of a one and done company, meaning that we do we install your floor. You're happy with the service. It looks great. Okay. Well, unless you move or you want us to do your lake house, we're really not going to do business with you as said customer again, because of the fact that we're one and done. Where Chris's business is, hey, he could fix my toilet, but then all of a sudden, my garage is having issues, or my front door handle falls off, or something else is taking place. So there's always that repeat business where I can, call you back to get additional business. Where our business model is more of, hey, we're going after market share. And again, unless somebody moves or they're calling us to do their, a secondary home that is, not too far of a drive for us. And, fortunately from Atlanta, we do have some mountain homes and lake home communities that are within a couple hours drive. We're, spending a lot of time acquiring a customer, yet that customer is, for the most part, it's one and done. But obviously, if you do it right, you get referrals and you build goodwill over time. So I would say that that's probably one of the biggest challenges per se for our company.
I would assume once you do one floor in a neighborhood, you start getting calls from the immediate neighbors.
Yeah, you would think that, Alan, but it is. It takes a long time in this business to start generating significant referral fees. People used to always say, "Oh, I bet what's your business? 90% referrals?" And I'm like, if it was 90% referrals, I would have been out of business in 2000. When do we start? 10. But this is because it's a luxury item, and what's important to Chris in his garage, even if you're next door to him, might not be that important to you. It might be worth $3,000 to Chris to do, but it's not worth $3,000 for you to do, or whatever the cost is, $2,500, $3,000.
Chris wants a gold floor, not a granite floor.
Well, so I've not done mine.
Yeah.
I've not done mine yet, but when Alan does do mine, he is going to put gold flakes in it. He just doesn't know that yet.
Yeah, we actually do have a gold flake blend that we've done a couple times. So if you go to our website, you can see that.
Awesome. There you go.
Love
You
it.
want gold flakes on your garage floor?
Oh
Call
my
Alan.
God.
You want granite garage floors? You call Alan. Alan, you hit on something that was interesting. Then I want to talk about it a little bit more. So not every person wants their garage floor done. And then once you do it once, you're done. You got to keep generating this. One of the things that people probably don't even know is that you can actually do this to the floor. I didn't know you could paint it. I mean, people just, it doesn't hit their head. So when you see other people in your market building awareness, or is that a competitor? So is that helping you or is that hurting you in your business?
I would say it all depends on who you ask, right? You ask salespeople that work for you, they're like, oh, it puts us in a competitive advantage because there's XYZ competitors. But if you think about it, I mean, every solid category, especially in home improvement, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, handyman, garage doors, garage floors, you're going to have competitors. So, and because of the fact that, when we started in 2012, a lot of people didn't even realize that there was a better solution versus the stained concrete floor, the painted concrete floor utilizing a cheap epoxy kit that you might get at the home improvement store or paint store. So we were creating awareness for the category. Hey, when other competitors come in, and we've had a lot of them, especially in Atlanta and some of the other markets, kind of copycatting our strategies. At the end of the day, fortunately for us, there's enough opportunity in these markets where I look at it as it's raising the overall awareness for the category. and a rising tide lifts all boats. And I really do believe that. As frustrating as it is for some of our salespeople and even myself as well. Hey, if we're losing jobs, nobody likes to lose a job to a competitor. But the more people that are spending money in the market, creating awareness for the category, it is going to help your brand, as long as your brand, you're doing the right things to serve your customers. You're putting the best quality floors down. You're standing behind it. You're guaranteeing it. Everybody can change their dots on the box. We used to call it in consumer product marketing in terms of, hey, what does your dots on your box say versus what do my dots on my box say? There's lots of different ways that you can install these coating systems. But when you have a tried and true method and you have 10 years plus worth of results, thousands and thousands of happy customers, you start to gain a good reputation. So
yeah, my sense is, in being close to your product and what's going on, is that if I'm thinking DIY, I'm not spending money with you. I'm thinking I've got my own time. My time's worth nothing. I don't value my time. I'm going to go buy this stuff at, I did my research and I found out that this product at Depot is great, or this product at Lowe's is amazing, or I can go to Sherwin-Williams and I know I can do this stuff myself. I've read all the YouTube. I watched all the YouTube. I'm going to do it myself. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it really well. And the reason I say that is because I did do that. And I did that in Charlotte 20 years ago. And I did exactly what Alan said earlier on the podcast, which was I did it. I pressure washed it. I muriatic acid. I prepped it. I'm a handy dude. I know what I'm freaking doing. Put that shit down. Told my wife, nobody parks in that garage for a week. We roll that sucker in on Saturday. She rolls it out, and the paint goes right with it. So by the
way, when people tell me, "Hey, I'm going to do it myself," I'm like, "Great." Those, half of our business comes from people that actually did it themselves before. So it's built-in business. It just might be, that's our annuity. It just might take a couple before the pain gets so bad that you go, you know what? I realize I spent a weekend and $500 doing this, but now I want the professionals to come do it because I'm tired of looking at it.
So
your wife's tired of looking at it.
In my case, I spent a weekend. I did it. I had to move all my stuff out of the garage. I put a tarp over it. Windstorm comes through, blows the tarp off. Rain follows it. Rain falls on everything in my garage. I told my wife, you can't park in the place for a week. I get everything back in there. She rolls it in, and literally, when she rolls out, little flecks come up with it.
We hear that story a lot.
Classic, Chris.
That is classic, which is why I have not done my own garage floor. Yes, I am going to do it with Alan. Alan, we're starting to bump up against our time a little bit, and we always like asking 3 questions if everybody comes on here. I find it to be pretty interesting and fascinating. Because
I'm fascinated.
You ready?
Yeah.
So, what is the favorite feature of your home?
What do you think it's going to be?
His garage floor. Oh my God!
He went for garage floors.
No, it's not.
I will tell you. I always say it's my garage floor. And by the way, we had this is a funny story. We had done a renovation to our house, to our kitchen 10 years ago, right around the same time we were starting the business. And we had actually Rust-Oleum install the floor in our house. And people would come through the garage into the house, and nobody was even noticing what we did in our kitchen at the time. All they were wanting to know is, what the heck is on this garage floor? So the garage floor has always been one of our favorite things, but since that's not a fair question, I would say the most thing that we're most excited about now is we put a sauna in our basement. My wife wanted that last year during the pandemic, and so we did that, and that's probably one of my favorite features now.
The sauna. I went to school at Michigan Tech, where a lot of Finnish people are. I had a lot of saunas, as we say, up in the Finland area. So that's awesome. So I love the sauna. That's awesome. I love it. And actually, what made it a little kinkier is that he kept saying "we," but we're not going to go there because that's not this podcast. You have to go somewhere else in podcast land for that stuff.
It's kind of this podcast.
Well, we are a little explicit.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. The sauna. I tell you what, that's a new one.
I like that.
You know what? My neighbor has one. And the old neighbors prior used to ask me to go check on their house when they're gone because I was a handyman. And every time I'd go in there and I'd stare at that sauna going, do you think they'd know? Do you think they know that if I went in
Looking
there
for the cameras
with
and the
my
sauna.
bare ass sitting on their sauna wood? I would never do that to you. I'm just kidding. All right. Number 2.
Not anymore.
Well, not an Al sauna. I definitely wouldn't. I mean, if I got invited in to their sauna, I would not. I would always put a towel down.
Yeah, that's a good.
All right, that's the rule in ours too.
Phew. Thank God. All right. We'll continue playing golf together. All right, Al, number 2, your
Yeah.
customer service pet peeve.
I would say our biggest customer service pet peeve, and it's one of the things on why I actually started Granite Garage Floors, is just doing what you say you're going to do when you're going to do it. You know what? Hey, my guys are going to be there tomorrow morning to finish this. They'll be there at 10. You know what? If they're not at 10, I better be getting a phone call. Somebody better be telling me, when to expect someone. So not following up, not doing what you say you're going to do is, especially in home improvement. I mean, that's probably the biggest frustration that homeowners have, is not following up with the time slots that were provided.
So when I call you and say, "Hey Al, my tire's flat. I'll be there in an hour," and then I call you 2 hours later and say, "Hey, the other tire went flat. I'm going to be there 2 hours later." You're starting to smell a little bullshit, huh? Yeah, right.
And I would say by the way, in today's day and age too, with the amount of texting and everybody texts, I mean, having respect for somebody else's time, okay? And look, things happen, life happens, things get busy. A text to the customer, text back to me, whoever it may be, whether you're on the receiving end or the delivering end of that, keep the communication flowing. Things can generally go a lot easier.
Amen to that.
Love that point. That's great. All right, our final question. Since you're in the contracting business, I'm not going to ask you for a contractor nightmare story. I want to ask you a DIY nightmare story.
I don't know if I technically have a nightmare story, but if you were to ask my wife, and I don't have as much time as I used to have on my hands to do a lot of DIY projects, but she would always say, every single and this would always happen. I'm like, oh, I can go change that outlet out, or I can go switch out that ceiling fan or switch that light fixture out. And it just seems like something that should always take probably take your guys like 15 minutes. Okay. It always seems to take me 3 hours, and then I don't really finish it. And then I got to come back the next day, and, because I can't find this screwdriver, I can't, up and down the stairs into the basement looking for this widget or that widget to complete a job. So I don't know if it's a nightmare, but it seems like for me, it is continually, I never have what I need to get the project done. And even if I did have it, I probably wouldn't be able to get it done in an efficient time frame. Things just never go smoothly when it comes to DIY for me.
I love that. And I'm going to double down on this one. So I'm a pretty handy guy. I can work in houses. A lot of the things that my guys do are all because of things I've done. And I train them not to do what I've done. And one of the best things I can do is I can take a 2-minute project and make it 6 trips to Home Depot, 7 trips up and down the stairs, 25 trips out to my truck to look for the tool that I thought was out there, but it's really over there. And 6 hours later, I have that outlet switched out. So yes. So I teach my guys, always have the tools, be prepared for the job. And you go into a big box store, you go in with a list. You do not go without a list of what you need, because invariably you will forget the one thing. Like in my case, I forgot PVC glue and I was doing a bunch of plumbing. And I went all the way back to my house, got everything dry fitted, ready to go, put my waste piping in, go to set everything together. I got my primer, get my primer out, and I got everything going. And I looked down and I didn't buy the glue, and I had to get back in my truck, drive all the way back to the glue. So even the handyman screws it up. Al, I've loved this. I've enjoyed you having you on. We've got it.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
One thing I want to give everybody a chance to do is, how can we get in touch with you? Either to get your Granite Garage Floors taken care of, or maybe franchise opportunities. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
The easiest way is to hit our website at Granite Garage Floors with an S .com. There's information on franchising there. There's information on our product, what we do, how we do it, all the locations that are there. We've got 16 locations covering really a lot of the Southeast. We're out as far out to the West in Colorado and Kansas City, up in Maryland, Virginia, the Carolinas, 3 locations down in Florida, out to Texas. So GraniteGarageFloors.com would be the most direct way, and either myself or someone on my team here locally in Atlanta, or in any one of our franchise locations will be quick to respond to your Granite Garage Floors needs.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And adventure team, keep raising your goals, raise that altitude. Let's go. Let's go get them all. Al, great story. Thanks again for having you on, for being with us.
Thanks, Al.
Yep. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Don't forget to go out and rate, review, and follow me. And if you like this episode, go out and check out my other episodes, or check out my Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn for other great content. And remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve your higher altitude in the wild world of small business ownership. Until next time, make it a great day, adventure team.